Hi, good to be with you again for another lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at practice, the art of practice. Practice, practice, practice. Say it with me. Practice, practice, practice. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. I want to look at 5 things today. Number 1, it takes practice to appear natural. Number 2, it takes a village to build a TED Talk. Number 3, have a conversation with yourself. Number 4, authenticity does not happen naturally. And number 5, practice in front of the camera. So these 5 things I hope will help you in this whole area of practicing and rehearsing your talk, your speech, your message, your presentation. Firstly, it takes practice to appear natural. I want you to notice with me here that the key word is appear. Appear natural. It takes practice to appear natural. Have you ever had anybody say to you, you are a natural born speaker? Have you ever had anybody say to you, I'm sure you have, you are such a natural. You were born for the stage. You were born to MC. You're a natural speaker. You make it look so easy. Well, we all know the truth. Every public speaker knows that there is no such thing. There is no such person as a natural born speaker. In fact, I don't think there's a natural born anything. I think we may be born with a disposition. We may be born with an inclination towards something. Maybe there's some inherent giftings there. I believe that. But to bring them out and to craft them and to shape them and deliver that natural speech, it's going to take practice, practice, practice. The key word there is appear. You know, people that are good at something, people that excel at something, they do make it appear easy. They make it look so easy. But you and I both know that nothing really is easy. Nothing is easy. It looks easy, it appears, but everything's not as it seems. It takes practice to appear natural. It takes practice. I grew up in Adelaide, and behind our house, this was some years ago, now they were building what is called the O-Bahn bus system. It was a bus that would be on the road, and then for some of its journey, it would be on these train tracks. And they were building these tracks behind our house. And I just remember at an early age, 10 years, 11 years old, every night, you know, almost, I would walk these train tracks and I would be practicing. I didn't have a platform at that age. In fact, that train track was my platform. And I would take the Sunday morning's message or the Sunday night's message or the youth message or some of the wording that the MCs would speak or whatever message was given, that communion message on a Sunday, and I would just go out there and I would mimic it. I would copy it. And, you know, I look back on those years. They were formative years where I would practice what I believed one day I would be doing. One day I believed that I'd be on the stage with a microphone. I believed that my future involved a stage and a microphone and speaking and preaching and emceeing. And so I would practice, practice, practice. I would have altar calls and I would take up offerings and, you know, I'd speak to the trees and you know, I would picture myself there. It's practice, practice, practice. You know, there's a couple of things that I've learned about practice. I've learned that every practice session is a learning process. You know, some people say, oh, I won't bother about practicing. I'll be okay. You know what I found? When I practice, I learn. I still will go out on walks before I speak, and I'll take my palm cards and I'd be going over and, you know, I'd say something, I think, oh, no, it doesn't sound right, you know. So much can happen in the practice. So much can happen as you're rehearsing. And so I see it as a learning curve. You're going to learn when you speak from the platform. You're going to speak when you go live, but you can learn so much even in the rehearsal, even in the practice sessions that you should be having. I've learned that there's no glory in practice. There's no glory in that. No one's listening. Nobody's watching. You know, you don't get a love offering. You don't get an honorarium for all the practice sessions that you do. There is no glory in practice, but with practice, there is glory. Or if you like, there is success. You can always tell whether someone has practice, whether someone has rehearsed and gone over that speech, that message. Michael Jordan, the famous basketballer, said, "I play to win, whether in practice or the real game." You know, I would encourage you to treat practice, treat those times that you rehearse, you go over and over and over that message, treat it as though it is the real platform. Set time aside, you know, give yourself time, allocate time to practice, 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 rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Secondly, it takes a village to build a TED Talk. I'm taking a couple of these thoughts, by the way, from the recommended book, the recommended text, which is Talk Like TED. And chapter 3 there talks about practice. And there's an interesting story there. A lady by the name of Amanda Palmer, and I've watched her TED Talk. It's now rated one of the most watched TED Talks. And she talked on the art of asking. The art of asking. And after that particular talk that she gave, I think it was a 13-minute talk, and it just was so popular. They interviewed her, and she said that after that talk, she literally, physically thanked, personally, face-to-face, 105 people. She credited the success of that message, that TED Talk on the art of asking, to 105 people. What she said is 105 people contributed to that TED Talk. It takes a village to raise a child. You've heard that said. I'm saying it takes a village, or in fact, Amanda Palmer is saying it takes a village to build a TED Talk. Here's a thought. Every message you speak, every speech, every talk that you give, it will take more than just your own thoughts if it's going to be the success or have the impact that you want it to have. You do not have the sum total of knowledge or wisdom or experience on the subject that you're going to speak at. Why don't you watch a couple of talks, a couple of TED Talks, watch a couple of high-profile public speakers, and I'll tell you what you'll notice, that almost 50% of their content, you will have heard it before. I've heard that story before. I've heard that quote before. I mean, how many people quote Winston Churchill? How many people quote Barack Obama? How many people quote, you know, many of the presidents and prime ministers of countries around the world? How many people will quote some of those high-profile personalities? You'll have heard most of it before. You don't have to be 100% original. In fact, I think if you only deliver your thoughts, then that message, that speech is underdone. It's undercooked. It's underdeveloped. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. Don't think that 100% of that content of your message has to be original. It has to be your own. It doesn't. It takes a village to build a TED Talk. And I encourage you to develop a love for research. Develop a love for searching out other people's ideas and other people's thoughts and understandings and experiences on the subject that you are going to speak on. Your message and your life will be greatly enhanced if you're willing to engage the thought of other people. Number 3, have a conversation with yourself. You've heard it said. What's the saying? It's okay to talk to yourself, but watch out if you start answering yourself. I think it's the first sign of madness. I'm here to tell you, I'm here to admit, I talk to myself and I answer myself. I talk to myself and I respond to what I'm saying. You know, I think it's important. In fact, I think most public speakers, they talk to themselves and they respond to themselves. Let me give you just 4 benefits of self-talk. self-talk. In fact, I think most public speakers talk to themselves more than they perhaps talk to an audience. Some of the benefits of talking to yourself. Number one, sometimes you've just got to be willing to encourage yourself. Sometimes you might be in an environment, you might be in a place or a season where not many people are encouraging you, and you just have to encourage yourself. The Bible talks about that. David, it says, it encouraged himself in the Lord. And you can do that too, but sometimes you just have to speak positively over your life and encourage yourself and build yourself up. You know, I'll often tell myself, you know, man, I'm an awesome speaker. I'm a brilliant orator. What a wonderful wordsmith I am, you know. And I don't believe all of my own press, but I tell you what it does. It does lift your spirit, and it does encourage you. I hope that you've got other people around and supporting you and encouraging you and telling you that you're awesome and you're a legend and people love you. But, you know, sometimes you've got to be willing to speak that over your own life as well. I think actually speaking and talking to yourself helps you to understand your thoughts. You know, it's amazing when you hear your thoughts. You know, you can sit there and you can think these thoughts, but when you actually vocalize them and talk them out. And by the way, when I talk about self-talk, I actually speak out loud. I'll go into a room where I can speak, where no one can hear me. I'll go on those walks or on my motorbike, you know, and I'll speak to myself. I can hear myself in the helmet. You know, it's amazing how things sound when you hear them being spoken. It helps you to understand your thoughts, and you process some of those thoughts, particularly new thoughts that you have that you might be speaking on. The third thing, it actually helps you to clarify your thoughts. I'll speak out something, I'll be rehearsing and practicing, and I'll hear that, I'll hear myself say it, and I'll think, hang on a minute, I don't really think I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I don't think I really understand what I'm talking about here. And so, hang on, I need to say that a different way. Do I really? And I'll go back and do a bit more research. You see, if I don't think I understand what I'm talking about, then sure, people won't understand. Or they'll certainly know. I don't want people sitting there listening to me thinking, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You've lost your audience right there. So self-talk, encourage yourself, helps you to understand your thoughts, helps you to clarify your thoughts. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way, I should say it this way. I think it also creates an excitement for the platform. You know, I know often in my rehearsals, I rehearse, practice. I start to get excited. I can't wait to get onto the platform. I can't wait for that stage to open up. I can't wait to get that microphone in my hand. And it actually starts to create an excitement within me. I also find faith starts to build. And faith starts to arise for that occasion. Not only excited about what I want to say, but I start to get excited when I think about the outcomes and the possibilities of what God's going to do in and through me and the speech, the message, the talk that I'm going to give. So have a conversation with yourself. I'll often be in my office and I'll be talking to myself, and people will walk past and they'll knock on the window and I'll turn around and they'll think I'm on the phone, so they won't bug me and they won't want to come in. I've worked it out now, and I'm not on the phone. I'm just speaking it out. I'm practicing, I'm rehearsing. Find a place where you can. Practice. Number 4, authenticity does not happen naturally. Yeah, you heard me correct. You know, an authentic presentation requires hours and hours and hours of practice. In fact, Carmine Gallo in the book in chapter 3 says, an authentic presentation requires hours of practice digging deep into your soul. Digging deep into your soul. I like that. And you know, that's the kind of stuff that people don't see. They don't see you practicing. They don't see you, you know, digging deep in those times of research and preparation. But it sure does show. Reality takes time. You know, living out that message. In fact, somebody once said, a message is at its best. You deliver it best, it comes across best after about the 10th time of speaking that same message. And, sometimes you'll only preach one message once and you'll never go back again. But, there's something to be said for that over and over and over and over again, practicing and rehearsing and speaking it out. It doesn't just happen. Number 5, practice in front of the camera. The best thing that you can do is to practice in front of the camera. I really want to encourage you to take time to develop yourself as a public speaker and take development serious. Get serious. We get serious about the platform and the pulpit and having the microphone. But I've found that if you want to be an effective public speaker, you've got to take your preparation and your personal development, PD, you've got to take that seriously. I think that the video camera is the single best tool to improve your public speaking gift. You'll learn so much. You'll hear so much. You'll see so much when you watch and listen to yourself in that video camera. It's an important tool in your development. It's important to get feedback. It's important that you practice in front of the camera. Even if you've got an iPhone, set that up. It doesn't need to be high technology, but give yourself some practice there in front of that camera. So I hope these thoughts have helped you here. Practice, rehearse. See you next lesson.